Have you ever thought about moving to Tennessee? You're not alone. Over the last decade, a lot of people have. Even though Tennessee is an attractive place to live, it's not for everyone. Today we look at the 10 things you should know before you move to the volunteer state. Realtors and real estate agents only tell you about the positives. They're trying to make a sale, like no state income tax, low cost living, and of course the beautiful countryside. But what they won't tell you about is Number 10, healthcare, or what healthcare? Tennessee's healthcare system is struggling harder than a dial-up modem in 2025. The state consistently ranks near the bottom for healthcare access, outcome, and affordability. Hospitals in rural areas are closing left and right. And if you live outside a major city, getting basic care can be a logistical nightmare. I mean, you got to drive hours to get to a city for an appointment. It can be quite an ordeal. But it's not just about the distance, it's also about coverage. Tennessee chose not to expand on Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act, which leaves a ton of working class residents without affordable insurance options. The result, people delay care, skip medication, and wind up in ERs for preventable issues. Yes, if you're worried about the bill and you have no insurance, you're going to put things off and then you end up in the ER. Or you just die. Even in cities like Nashville, where you'll find top-tier medical centers, like at Vanderbilt, the cost can be brutal without good insurance. So unless you've got employer-sponsored healthcare plans or Medicare, expect to navigate a healthcare system that is full of red tape and short on resources. Tennessee is ranked 44th in the nation by the Commonwealth Fund when it comes to healthcare. When it comes to outcome alone, they're 48th. Number 9, the overhyped country music scene. Yes, Nashville is the country music capital of the world, and yes, it's got good historic venues like the Grand Ole Opry, and enough honky-tonks to drown in Boots and Bud Light. But if country music isn't your thing, living in Tennessee can feel like you're getting stuck in a never-ending hoedown that you didn't sign up for. Country music dominates everything in Tennessee, from festivals to bars to commercials and even some government tourism campaigns. It's less of a genre and more of a statewide personality at this point. And sure, it's part of the charm for a weekend. But when every tourist trap is blasting the same Luke Bryan track on repeat, it starts to wear thin quick. The real issue is that the state often markets itself as a one-note wonder when there's actually more musical diversity under the surface. Blues in Memphis, indie scene in Knoxville, but those don't always get the spotlight like country music does in Nashville. So if you're not down to line dance your way through your daily life, it may get old fast. Now, I'm not saying it's mandatory to hear country music, but when there's a type of music you don't like and it's everywhere, it starts to suck. Imagine some of you out there listening right now that are going, nothing wrong with country music. Imagine if they had like rap music everywhere and it's just coming out of every single bar all the time, which I'm sure there are some places in Tennessee that are like that. But when it's a constant barrage of every single bar and every single festival, that's not your thing. It's going to get old. Number 8, allergies will destroy you. There are 3 guarantees in Tennessee: death, taxes, and pollen. The state regularly ranks as one of the worst places in America for allergy. Springtime in Tennessee isn't just flowers blooming, it's your sinuses having seizures. People with even mild allergies turn into congested red-eye zombies for half of the year. Knoxville, Chattanooga, Nashville are often the top offenders, with tree pollen in spring, grass pollen in summer, and the ragweed in the fall. It's like a seasonal baton pass of suffering. You'll find yourself Googling, "Can I take 3 allergy pills at once?" while trying to see the screen through your itchy eyes. Even locals joke that they didn't have allergies until they moved to Tennessee. Same thing here in Oregon. I'm a mess right now, and I am on medication for it. It's one of the few states where you might genuinely consider moving away just for the sweet relief of breathing clearly again. Yeah, I've been there too. I felt the same way. Number 7, Memphis. Let's just say it. Memphis isn't for everyone. Now, it's rich in musical history, and they've got barbecue so good it makes grown men cry when they have to leave. The city is still a horrible mess when it comes to crime rates. They're one of the worst in the country. We're talking carjackings, burglaries, homicides, people jumping over your fence, giving your dog a Charlie horse. Horrible, horrible things. You got to triple check your door locks just to feel a little safe, and that's at noon on a Tuesday. Their violent crime rate is 618% above the national average. That's not a misquote. I'm not showing you the wrong stat. 618% above the national average. Parts of Memphis are beautiful, historic, and full of soul. Beale Street still hums with the blues, and Graceland brings in the Elvis fans by the busload. But there's a reason most locals will tell you exactly which neighborhoods to avoid, and they're not talking about after dark. They mean 24/7. Don't go there. Crime here isn't limited to one corner of town. It's spread out like barbecue sauce at a picnic. Then there's the economic struggles. Despite being home to FedEx global headquarters, Memphis has deep rooted issues with poverty, blight, and a shrinking tax base. And as we all know, if a city starts going downhill, people move out. That means there's less people paying taxes to the city, and that gives them less resources to fix the city. So it's just this horrible little hamster wheel they got stuck on. And most cities struggle to get out of it. Infrastructure feels neglected, schools are underfunded, and abandoned buildings are more common even in once prominent areas. If you're thinking about moving here for the low cost of living, just make sure you're factoring in personal safety, school quality, and oh, yeah, replacing your stolen catalytic converter at least twice a year. Number six, lack of diversity. Now, I sometimes don't like bringing this one up because it just invites all the racists to leave comments, and they don't understand that diversity is more than just the color of someone's skin or their culture. It has to do with their food, their music, their festivals, things like that. Getting to know other people. That's what it's about, but Tennessee is not big on diversity. But this is mostly outside the cities. If you step outside the bigger cities in Tennessee to the smaller towns, they can feel, well, very similar cultural, politically, and demographically. Rural Tennessee tends to be pretty homogenous, which isn't necessarily welcoming for everyone. I mean, to some of you, I'm sure that's wonderful, but to most people, it's really not. If you're from a big city or used to multicultural environments, the adjustment might feel like stepping back in time. And a lot of people you run into would really appreciate it if we would go back in time. The lack of diversity often shows up in community activities, local politics, and school systems. People tend to have the same background, go to the same churches, and vote the same ways. That's fine if you fit the mold, but if you don't, it can feel like you're constantly standing out in a crowd that isn't quite sure what to make of you. Now, not every small town is unwelcoming, but let's just say the cultural variety isn't Tennessee's strong suit outside the urban centers. If you're hoping for a broad mix of worldviews, food, music, or just good old fashioned cultural variety, you might need to stick close to the cities or prepare for a lot of explaining at every barbecue. Now, I'm not saying the people of Tennessee are still living up to that stereotype they had back in the, 50s, 60s, and 70s. This isn't like Deliverance. Now, I'm sure there are some places up in the mountains that are very similar to Deliverance. And if you've never seen the movie, I encourage you to see it just when it gets to a certain point, maybe get the kids out of the room. And that would be when the hillbillies attack the canoers. My point here is it's not nearly as bad as it used to be. And the state's come a long way. It's still just very, very short in diversity. Don't go canoeing. Number five, public education struggles. The Tennessee public school system could use a serious tune up. The state consistently ranks near the bottom nationally when it comes to education quality. Test scores are low, the teacher turnover rate is high, and many schools are underfunded, especially in rural areas. The issue isn't just money, it's priorities. Teachers are often asked to do more with less, and school districts can be highly unequal depending on your zip code. And some high performing magnet schools do exist, especially in cities like Nashville and some in Memphis. Add in ongoing political battles over curriculum and school funding, and you've got a recipe for instability. If education is a major factor in your move, you'll either need to shell out the money for private school or be ready to fight for every ounce of quality your local public system can give you. They're big on private schools in Tennessee, Kentucky also, and they don't really give much money to the schools in either of those states. And they're also two of the most undereducated states we have. Tennessee's getting way better than Kentucky. Kentucky's still lagging way behind, but nobody is as bad as Arkansas. Number four, drugs and crime in rural areas. While Tennessee gets attention for its big city crime in Memphis and some in Nashville, rural crime is quite a crisis, especially when it comes to drug addiction. The opioid epidemic has hit many of the small towns here hard. Of course, they've got other stuff that sound like math labs. They haven't exactly disappeared either. They're not as big of a deal as they used to be, but they're still there. It's a sad and messy part of life in some otherwise peaceful looking places. Many rural counties struggle with underfunded law enforcement, limited rehab resources, and court systems overloaded with drug related cases. The result is a lot of petty theft, property crime, and community decline, all fueled by addiction. It's not unusual to hear about break ins, stolen tools, or people wandering around on substances in broad daylight. Obviously, not as bad as a lot of other places. We're talking about the small town issue, not talking about the big cities. That's everywhere in every city. Now, to be clear, this isn't every single town, but it's common enough that if you're looking for a quaint little place off the beaten path, you better do some homework first. Because nothing says welcome to the neighborhood like finding out your neighbor's garage is a chemistry lab. And Walter White's been hanging out there. Number three, low wages. Tennessee's job market is kind of a paradox. There are plenty of jobs, especially in hospitality, healthcare, and logistics, but they don't pay much. While the cost of living here is lower than bigger coastal cities, the wages often feel like they're stuck in the 1990s. You'll find yourself working full time and still counting change for gas. Minimum wage is stuck at the federal level of 7.25 an hour, which that just means they don't have their own, so they have to abide by the 7.25. And even so-called good jobs in the state don't pay as well as they would in other parts of the country, unless you land a high-tech salary gig in tech, healthcare, or some music industry adjacent in Nashville. Be prepared for modest paychecks and tight budgets. In Tennessee, the average hourly wage is $30.68, which might sound decent, especially if you're working at Dollar General. Then you realize it ranks the seventh lowest in the entire country. The national average right now in July of 2025 is $36.44. Tennesseans clock in about 34.3 hours of work a week, which adds up to about $1,052 weekly. That's your paycheck. Not exactly Scrooge McDuck money now, is it? And here's the kicker. Tennessee doesn't even bother with its own minimum wage, like I said earlier. It proudly leans on the federal minimum wage, a number so low it practically belongs in a museum next to rotary phones and Blockbuster membership cards. Forget living wage, this is more like barely surviving wage. And don't get too excited about remote work either. Many employers have caught on and are adjusting salaries based on your zip code. So if you're dreaming of living cheap and earning big, Tennessee might not be your golden ticket. A lot of people, like if I was in this situation, I would maintain my Oregon residence and move to some place like West Virginia or Mississippi. And I wouldn't tell anyone that I did. I just, have my mail sent there or whatever, or to a relative or friend here. Number two, skyrocketing housing prices, especially near Nashville. Once upon a time, you could buy a nice house in Nashville for under $250,000. That fairy tale ended in 2018. These days, thanks to the influx of out of state buyers, investors, and remote workers, housing prices have gone full blown ridiculous, especially around Nashville, Franklin, and parts of Chattanooga. Chattanooga being the least severe out of all of them. The average home value in Nashville right now sits around $445,000. Incomes haven't kept up with that either. Locals are being priced out of neighborhoods they've lived in for generations. It's gotten so competitive that people are writing personal essays and sending cookies with their offers. Outside the major metros, prices are still more affordable, but those areas are now catching the overflow from Nashville's housing boom. So even smaller towns are starting to feel the squeeze. Buying a house in Tennessee might not be the steal it used to be. It's starting to feel more like financial Russian roulette. All right, before we get to number one, if you're thinking about moving to Tennessee or any place in the country, there is a link down below for Home and Money. That website can get you in touch with a real estate agent anywhere in the country. They have all kinds of other tools on their website to help you if you're looking to buy a home. All right, on to number one. And number one, nature. Tennessee weather has serious commitment issues. One minute it's sunny and you're grilling in flip flops. The next minute your phone is screaming tornado warning and you're hiding in the bathtub with your dog and a weather radio. This is especially true in western and middle Tennessee, where storm season is basically all year round with no official off switch. While it's not as infamous as Oklahoma or Kansas, Tennessee is part of the Dixie Alley, which sees just as many tornadoes but gets way less national attention. Storms tend to pop up fast and they come with nasty winds, hail, and power outages. If you're not into emergency prep and weather anxiety, this isn't the state for you. Oh, and it's not just a tornado. It's a sudden flood or a snow flurry that paralyzes traffic because nobody in the state owns snow tires. Tennessee weather is like a toddler with a mood swing. It's unpredictable, it's dramatic, and never boring. Now, they also have brutal humidity during the summer. Tennessee summers are sticky, sweaty, and unrelenting. You don't just sweat, you marinate. It's the kind of humidity where your clothes feel damp before you even put them on. A 90-degree day feels like 105 with the added bonus of air so thick you could probably slice it and serve it with cornbread. Air conditioning becomes less of a luxury and more of a life support system in Tennessee during the summer. You'll worship your HVAC like a household deity. If you're not a fan of swamp-like living conditions, you might want to aim for a drier state. Try Arizona. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.